Imagine this, a wedding day so perfect, so beautiful, that it could have been taken straight out of a fairy tale. The bride, radiant in her white gown, walked down the aisle with her father, her veil glowing under the soft lights of the cathedral. Guests held their breath. The groom, tall, striking, dressed immaculately in black, waited at the altar with a smile so calm, so unwavering, that no one suspected a thing. Not even her. But what if I told you that this wasn't a wedding at all? That behind the flowers, the champagne, and the laughter was a plan so meticulously crafted, so cold-blooded, that it would leave everyone in that room in absolute shock. Because you see, the groom didn't plan this day to marry her. No, he planned it to expose her. The story begins months earlier. Rebecca Monroe, known to friends as Becca, was a woman everyone envied. She was stunning, ambitious, and seemed to have it all. Growing up in a wealthy family, she never had to struggle for anything. Her charm could disarm anyone, and her beauty made men compete for her attention. And then there was Daniel Ross, the man who would become her groom. Daniel wasn't born into wealth like Rebecca. He came from a modest background, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs to put food on the table. Daniel worked his way up the hard way. Scholarships, late nights studying, years of sacrifice. But when he finally became a successful corporate lawyer, he caught the eye of women who had once overlooked him. Rebecca and Daniel met at a charity gala. To the outside world, they looked like a power couple destined for greatness. Rebecca loved his status, his intelligence, his ability to hold a room. Daniel loved her beauty, or at least that's what everyone thought. But Daniel had something Rebecca didn't know. He had secrets of his own. As their relationship grew, Rebecca played her role well. The perfect fiancée, the glowing future wife. But what she didn't know was that Daniel had begun to notice things. Small inconsistencies in her stories. Whispered phone calls late at night. Unexplained absences. He didn't confront her right away. Instead, he started recording. Secretly, quietly, patiently. Every call, every late-night message, every rendezvous. Because Daniel had a suspicion, and as the weeks passed, those suspicions turned into undeniable proof. Rebecca was cheating. Not with a stranger, not with a fling, but with Daniel's business partner, his closest friend, the man Daniel trusted with his career, and, once upon a time, with his life. Now, most men would have ended it there, shouted, screamed, maybe broken off the engagement in private. But Daniel, he was different. He wasn't just going to walk away. He was going to let the whole world see who Rebecca truly was. And that's why, when the wedding day finally arrived, everything, from the vows to the priest to the guests, was nothing more than the stage for Daniel's masterpiece of revenge. The guests clapped as Rebecca reached the altar. She held Daniel's hands, looking into his eyes, with the smile of a woman who believed she had fooled him. The priest spoke. The crowd watched in silence. The air shimmered with expectation. And then Daniel interrupted. "Before we continue," he said, his voice calm but carrying across the cathedral, "there's something I need everyone to see." The crowd looked at one another, confused. Rebecca frowned, whispering, "Daniel, what are you doing?" But Daniel only smiled. That was the moment the projector screen descended behind them and the lights dimmed. On the screen, a video began to play. It wasn't a slideshow of their happy moments together. It wasn't a montage of love. No, This was raw footage, secretly filmed by Daniel himself. And what it showed was Rebecca. Rebecca in hotel rooms. Rebecca whispering into her phone. Rebecca in the arms of Daniel's best friend. Gasps filled the cathedral. People covered their mouths in shock. Her parents turned pale. The bridesmaids froze. And Rebecca? She dropped her bouquet, her face drained of color. "No," she whispered. "Daniel, please, stop this." But Daniel didn't stop, because this wasn't just about betrayal. This was about justice, and he had been waiting for this very moment. And what happened next would turn that beautiful wedding into something no one would ever forget. The video kept rolling, every second cutting deeper into Rebecca's perfect image. At first, the guests thought maybe it was a mistake, some cruel prank. But when they saw the unmistakable faces, when they heard Rebecca's voice on the recordings, there was no denying it. She had been exposed. Rebecca lunged at Daniel, trying to grab the remote from his hand. "Stop it! Stop it right now!" she cried, her voice cracking with desperation. But Daniel was ready. He stepped back, his face calm, his grip steady. "Why should I stop, Rebecca? This is who you are. This is who you've always been. They deserve to know." The crowd buzzed with murmurs. Whispers filled the air like wildfire. Rebecca's father buried his face in his hands. Her mother's eyes glistened with tears of humiliation. But Daniel wasn't finished, because the video wasn't just about infidelity. It was evidence. Evidence carefully collected, documented, and tied together with one brutal revelation. Rebecca hadn't just cheated, she had schemed. The recordings revealed conversations where she and Daniel's so-called best friend plotted to manipulate him, to access his accounts, to gain control of his assets. Rebecca wasn't just unfaithful, she was dangerous. And Daniel had caught it all. "Ladies and gentlemen," Daniel said, his voice echoing across the stunned room, "I present to you the real Rebecca Monroe. Not the innocent bride you thought you knew, but the liar, the cheater, and the thief who thought she could outsmart everyone." Rebecca's knees buckled. She fell against the altar, shaking her head. "No, no, please, Daniel, I can explain." But Daniel silenced her with a cold glare. "Explain what? How you used me? How you laughed behind my back with the man I trusted most? Or how you planned to ruin me while smiling in my face?" The guests gasped again. Some began to boo. Others shook their heads in disgust. And then the doors of the cathedral opened. Two uniformed officers walked in. Rebecca's eyes widened. What is this?" Daniel turned toward her, his voice calm, almost gentle. "You see, Rebecca, this isn't just a wedding anymore. This is a courtroom." He gestured to the officers. "And you, my dear, are about to face justice." The officers stepped forward, handcuffs in hand. Rebecca screamed. She turned to her parents, begging, "Mom, Dad, please do something." But her parents couldn't even look at her. The officers grabbed her arms. Rebecca fought, sobbing uncontrollably. "Daniel, please, don't do this. I love you. I didn't mean it." Daniel only shook his head. "Love? Rebecca, you don't even know the meaning of the word." The crowd parted as the officers dragged her down the aisle, the same aisle she had so proudly walked minutes earlier. The contrast was devastating, from a radiant bride to a criminal. And Daniel? He stood tall, watching her go, his face unreadable. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. Because the real trial hadn't even started yet, news of the wedding that turned into a courtroom spread like wildfire. The video recordings went viral. Media outlets called it the most shocking wedding scandal of the decade. Overnight, Rebecca Monroe's name became synonymous with betrayal. But what the world didn't know was that Daniel had planned every step with precision. The wedding wasn't just a trap. It was the culmination of months of legal groundwork. Daniel had made sure every piece of evidence was admissible in court. Every recording was legitimate. Every witness present at the wedding could testify. Rebecca and Daniel's former best friend were both charged with conspiracy, fraud, and attempted theft. But the courtroom battles were far from simple. Rebecca hired one of the best defense attorneys in the state. In court, she appeared in designer suits, her hair perfectly styled, playing the part of the misunderstood woman. She claimed Daniel had manipulated the videos, that he was jealous, controlling, even abusive. For a moment, it seemed her performance might sway the jury. But Daniel had anticipated this. One by one, he unveiled more evidence: text messages, bank transfers, secretly recorded phone calls, where Rebecca admitted to everything. And then, the final blow. Daniel revealed a confession video from Rebecca's supposed lover, the business partner who had betrayed him. In the video, the man admitted that Rebecca had orchestrated everything, that she had pushed him into the scheme, that she was the mastermind. The courtroom fell silent. Rebecca's face twisted in horror. Her defense crumbled. And with that, the jury had no choice. Guilty. The word echoed through the courtroom. Rebecca broke down in tears, begging the judge for mercy. But mercy never came. She was sentenced to years in prison, her once perfect life shattered into pieces. Meanwhile, Daniel walked out of that courtroom a free man, victorious, but something inside him felt hollow. He had won. He had exposed her. He had gotten his revenge. But he couldn't escape the lingering thought. Had she truly loved him, even just a little? Or had it all been a lie from the start? The answer didn't matter anymore, because Rebecca Monroe, the woman who thought she could outsmart everyone, was gone. And Daniel Ross, he became the man remembered forever, as the groom who turned his wedding day into a courtroom. The story didn't end with Rebecca's prison sentence. No, because the world never forgot. Documentaries were made. Podcasts dissected the betrayal. Talk shows invited Daniel to speak about the wedding that wasn't. Some people praised him as a genius, a man who refused to be humiliated quietly. Others criticized him for being cruel, for turning something sacred into a spectacle. But no one could deny he had changed the game. Rebecca, on the other hand, faded into obscurity. In prison, stripped of her wealth and status, she became just another inmate. The once envied socialite became a cautionary tale. Her parents disowned her. Her so-called friends abandoned her. She had lost everything. And every night, as she lay awake in her cell, she saw it all over again. The moment Daniel pressed play, the gasps, the stares, the humiliation. Her wedding day replayed in her mind, over and over, a nightmare she could never escape. As for Daniel, he rebuilt his life. It wasn't easy. Trust came harder now. Love seemed dangerous. But he poured himself into his work, into helping others who had been betrayed, using his skills as a lawyer to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. And though he never remarried, people often wondered if he regretted it all, if he wished he had simply walked away instead of turning the wedding into an execution of truth. But whenever he was asked, Daniel only said one thing: "Justice has many forms. That day, I chose mine." And that is how a wedding day became a courtroom. Till a groom's secret video exposed the truth, destroyed a web of lies, and left a legacy no one would ever forget. Because sometimes, the most beautiful day can turn into the darkest. And sometimes, the groom doesn't say, "I do." Sometimes, he says, "I know."